go live. Yeah.
I'll give you this
Ooh.
when I have to go. All right, cool. All right, good.
Yeah, we're live actually right now. Here we go. And then you know what? To let the fans know we're live, we'll do this.
This is True OF Entertainment.
Well, here we go. It's the man that promises you nothing and delivers. It's the veritable man motor mouth. It's Road Woods who feels the need to call himself Rob Vega. It somehow makes him feel important. Anyway, do have a listen and try not to throw up.
Hey, we are here. Who knew?
That's very important advice. Try not to throw up, because
Try not to throw up. Okay.
We should call this the wing show, where we just wing it. We don't. I had somebody ask me today at the station where I work. They said, what do you guys talk about? And I said, I literally lean down, grab hold of my thumb, and suck hard. And
wow. I thought you were going to say some other stuff. So I'm glad you clarified.
I knew you did. I knew you did. I knew you did. And that, Stephen, is why I said it like that.
Okay,
exactly.
Just checking.
Because I just wanted to be obtuse. That's my word for today.
Well, excuse me. Well, look at you using a $3 word. So the person at the station said, what are you talking? They said, you should come on and you can talk with us. And then they
he's actually a newsreader. He's a television newsreader. So maybe I'm not sure for the station he works for would want him to do that, but we can see.
Anyway, we won't tell anybody.
That's right. That's right. We'll keep it a secret. Good. Because this is a really good way to keep a secret, I think. I think it's a show. Come on the show. We have 5 people listening.
Viewers. Right.
Yeah, all right, whatever. And your secret's safe. Really, it is. Yeah. It's fine. It's good.
Well,
okay, so
I will tell you, here's what's really funny. Let me just say this before we start. Because you are in South Africa, for the people that don't know.
I am.
I just got indoor plumbing and electric last week, so it's
my farm hasn't been stolen.
That's right. And the farmers the white farmers aren't being raped and pillaged like Trump says. Yes.
Not the ones I know. No, not at all. I mean, because others could be. I don't know.
Right. Well, it's because they have a big wall. Anyway,
their problem. Build a bigger wall. Build a bigger wall. That's what I say.
But here's the funny thing: when we look at our demographics, there is a big on Wednesdays and Fridays when they show live and rebroadcast. There's a big demographics from South Africa that actually watch and listen to this, whether it's they watch it on YouTube or the podcast.
Really?
Where you get wherever you get your podcast kids, you can watch 2OF Entertainment, Two Old Farts, whatever. You can find us. There's a link here. You can go and get the podcast. So yeah, we have a big spike on Wednesdays and Fridays for South Africa. So you see, they love you. And now you have no sound. I'm just saying, you have no sound. You muted yourself. There we go. This is what we like about live. You muted yourself. There you go.
Look where I am, Steve. Technology issues. What can I tell you? Look where I am.
I know. Oh my God.
I must say, I want to just say this though. There's a lot of things we can sit and whinge about, but the thing that I find quite extraordinary watching. I want to talk about politics here, and I want to talk about politics there. But here we go. I want to start with the US right now, because yes, I am a bit of a fanboy over the country. I have lived there. I've got a work visa for it, and I have. I heard somebody once say some of the greatest patriots are immigrants.
We said that last week and the week before and the week before
and it's worth repeating. I've said it again. Look at that. All right.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is I think people who have lived outside of the US and have faced other stuff appreciate by and large more what America is than people in America who have not traveled. I know you have, but folks who've never traveled and don't know, you think that's it. That you and it's understandable. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not judging. But if this is your reality, you judge your reality by your reality. So you don't really have anything to go by. But if you travel or you come from somewhere else and you come to the US and you go, wow, yeah, there's a lot of things that are not perfect, but come on, whatever, it's called humanity. Nothing about humanity is perfect, but there are some really good things. We could obviously debate about what's going on there now, but I will say this. You hear a lot of moaning. I mean, my YouTube algorithm, podcast thing, whatever, is just littered with all these people moaning about all kinds of crap. Every talk show host is moaning about the government, and your right-wing news channels are moaning about the Democrats getting all triggered. And I look at this and I go, I think of what my grandfather once said to me, and it's probably a Mark Twain quote. I don't know. Oliver Twist. Listen to me.
It's Oliver Twist said it. Well, that's even better.
What's the guy? Oh, the other guy.
Oliver Wendell
Oscar
Holmes?
Wilde. I confused
Wilde.
Oliver Twist with Oscar Wilde. I literally just did that. But he's one of them, maybe. I don't know. George Bernard Shaw. I'm not sure. And the quote goes something like this. It goes something like this. It says that small people.
Yes, I just
small, not small. We've already discussed that we're not discriminating against short people, right?
Right. We like midgets.
We do. We absolutely do.
Peter in the morning,
Peter.
I have pitter patter of little feet all over the house because I only have midget butlers. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Good for you, Steve. That's good. DEI, rock on, buddy. So they're going to shut you down. They're going to shut you down.
We have no more DEI. We have no more DEI.
But that's why I just said.
I can have all the midget butlers I want.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And you pay half price for them, which is even better.
They have what?
You pay half price for them. So, you instead of.
Well, I don't know. No, maybe it should be a third because, I'm just
like that.
Whatever. You like that? All right, good. Okay, so
small people, not midget butlers.
The small people talk about other people, right? It's called gossip. Small people talk about other people. Ordinary, average people talk about stuff. Like George Collins. They just talk about things, stuff, possessions, stuff. Great people talk about ideas. New things.
Well, here's the actual
quote. Now, hang on. Before you do that, what I want to say is, what will be so great is, I'm not dismissing anybody's concerns about what the administration is doing or what's going on, but complaining about it, whinging about it, pointing it out on all sorts of manner of whinge, it does nothing because that administration gives two shits. They were publishing, whatever you want to call it, military plans on a messaging platform called Signal, as you know, and it was a massive problem. And it was big and big and big, and now it's gone.
No, technically it's not. We keep it alive because we have experts on every lost dollar business.
All right, but what I'm saying is generally that story is gone because nothing's going to happen. It's zero. So you can. I'm not sure exactly what it would take for any government official, what they would have to do, what any of them would have to do for them to go, all right, you need to go, you're fired. They could literally do just about anything. So my thing is, stop worrying about them, sit down in your garage, like Amazon was started. I believe it was started in a garage, or Google was started in a garage. I don't know. Sit down in your little hole somewhere, get a pen, not on a computer, get a pen and start drawing or writing a plan as to what you want, how you're going to change something and do something better, and stop talking about the people you don't like.
I agree.
Figure something out. What was the thing that Gandhi said? Be the change. You be the change that you want to see. But it goes further than that. Instead of come up, what don't you like about the administration? What don't you like about what's going on? Okay.
Right.
So deep breath. Stop banging on their door. Stop protesting. Do something. Do something constructive. I don't know. Fundraise. Connect with business. I'm not sure. Make some money. I mean, it worked for Elon Musk. He's made a lot of money, and now he bought a country. So
congratulations.
I'm saying money would be a good route. So become a money grabbing sycophant, and then you can do whatever you want. How about that?
There you go.
How about
that? Grab all the pussy you can. Yeah. Apparently that gets you into the White House.
Realize that in the world we live in, money. I don't care what your mother, father told you about money. Money is power. Money gets things done. Money buys convenience. Does it buy happiness? Who gives a shit? The guy with money goes, I don't give a shit. No. What did George Harrison say? It doesn't buy you happiness, but it can sure rent it for the evening. I'm just
It puts a smile on your face. Yeah. But wait, before you go,
Anyway.
let me just say, I want to just say
Yeah.
this about this one, the quote, before we go down this track. You're not going to believe who said. So the real quote is: "Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people." We were both very, very, very off on who said it. It was a female who said it.
Okay, well, that makes sense because
but she looked more like a man, and that would be Eleanor Roosevelt. She's the one who said that.
Is that right?
Yeah,
really?
the first lady lesbian herself. There you go. Yeah, Eleanor. What? That's not. Can't say that. Okay. But Eleanor Roosevelt said that. She was the first LGBTQ first lady. There you go. Yeah.
Is that true? Was she?
Really? I read a thing in a book.
Oh, they suspect. They think.
They said that she had a, and I'm like, okay. So I don't.
She had a what? She had
a
what?
Friend. A friend.
A good friend.
When they say very good friend, I'm like, who gives a shit? Yeah. It's like I read there's an article that came out in The Economist about a year ago that said Abe Lincoln might have been either bisexual or gay. And I'm like, who cares?
Who cares?
I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, I mean, like, he was a great president. I don't who cares? So when they read the thing about Eleanor Roosevelt, I just chuckled to myself and I'm like, sure, why not? I mean,
Stephen,
it's like, who cares?
You know what I find really I don't find this strange. You remember when Clinton was having his knob sucked in the White House? You remember that?
Oh, sure, with the cigars and Monica Lewinsky. Monica, we love you. Come on the show. I need something with my cigars. Go ahead.
Here's what I remember. I remember there was I never saw this, but I remember people speaking about it. And there was a German paper. I think it's called Der Spiegel. Der Spiegel.
Oh, that's it's named after me. Der Spiegel.
There you go. Der Spiegel. And they, at the time of the whole Clinton Lewinsky thing, he was ostensibly doing good work as a president. So Europe was pretty happy with him. People liked him.
Yeah.
And they said at the time, they ran a double page ad in their newspaper with a big frame around it. And they said, this is what we would have written about the Clinton affair if he was our leader. And it was 2 blank pages because we don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. And this obsession, there's a very interesting thing. This obsession with having politicians be nice guys and they must be nice. And they serve McDonald's fries. They must be good guys. None of them are good guys. Think about what you have to be and what you have to do to become the leader of the free world. What things do you have to sculpt? So I'm saying they're not. Nice guys finish last. That is a fact.
That's true.
It's just a fact. So that's just a reality. So stop worrying about whether he's a nice guy or whether he grabs. It doesn't matter.
So we need somebody worse than Trump.
When you vote for somebody, you're hiring them for a professional reason, not their moral fiber. Good God, that's your problem. That's your problem.
Wait. But who do you hire worse than Trump? Who's worse than Trump?
I don't know, and I don't care. But it does. I'm saying is
we certainly care.
But I'm saying when you're looking for that new person, if you ever get to vote again, Stephen, of course.
Probably not. No, we're not going to vote again. So we're done. It's an authoritarian regime
it's
now.
It's Gilead. You have Gilead as America's. It's Margaret Atwood, The Handmaid's Tale. It's taken over, buddy. You're Gilead. Stephen,
we're done.
Get out now while you can. I'm just
his comment yesterday in the press conference was that he can extradite, like the guy he sent to El Salvador. That was a mistake, and the Supreme Court said bring him back, and he's like, nah. So he's ignoring the rule of law, and he also said that if an American citizen's a bad person, they could get the same treatment. And everyone's like, really? So we now are in an authoritarian country, no better than North Korea, Russia, or the rest of them. And America, by the time America wakes up, it'll be a little too late because they'll be doing goose steps everywhere. And the military doesn't seem to spooks or us. The military, everyone's like, yeah, great. I mean, apparently, because no one seems to be doing anything or saying anything. Jamie Dimon did an FT interview saying Americans losing all its financial clout and power. So we're going to be just a shithole like everybody else, except China. Because apparently China is going to be the #1 country in the world pretty soon, which they were 500 years ago.
Yeah, they were. They're a very old, patient culture.
They have a 1,000-year plan.
Absolutely. They play when the long game was invented by the Chinese. I'm sure of it. They're very patient. They're very I'm sure they're emotional, but they don't necessarily express it in a political framework.
Have you seen what they did lately? Have you seen the latest? I love this. I give kudos to China for this.
Tell me, what have they done?
Here's what China has done. And by the way, I just want to say, Xi, thank you for the panda. He's playing in the backyard. I'm just letting you know.
Hang on, is it a real panda or is it a sprayed dog?
No.
You know, they sprayed those dogs. Remember
they spray
that?
those dogs that look like pandas. Yes, but no, this is a real one.
Just
and
check,
I just want to
Steven.
say thank you. Yeah. We're tight. Xi and I are very tight now. The manufacturers of Hermes, Louis Vuitton, all these major brands, Lululemon, are now advertising on TikTok and Instagram in the United States, and they're saying Lululemon pays $5 to make $4 to $6, let's say, to make these leotards. They sell them to you for $100. Louis Vuitton, we make their sneakers or shoes or whatever or trainers for like $35, and they sell them to you for $1,200. So all these Chinese companies now, because the Chinese government has blessed it, now are saying instead of going to Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Tiffany's, and they're naming all this who makes like literally there's a list, just to buy it directly from us, because anything under $800 doesn't get a tariff. Most stuff's under $800 unless it's jewelry.
Yeah, why not?
Then they said the best part was the Hermes bag that's like $40,000. It cost us $1,000 to make. He said even with the tariff at 100%, it'll cost you $3,000. The guy was like, you saved $30,000. And then an American who was showing this said, but does it lose its value? Who gives a crap? It's the same thing. It just doesn't have the little. It's the same. And the Louis Vuitton guys that make Louis Vuitton, they literally, the boxes are ready to go with the car. I'm like, oh my God. So China now is saying, you want to have a trade war? We're going to show you how a trade war is done. I think these companies that were all like, oh, Donnie's great, are finding out bad. There was an article yesterday in the FT and the Wall Street Journal saying, how did Wall Street get Donald Trump so wrong? And as you've been saying for the last 2 years, he's been telegraphing it for 40 years. You got it wrong because you had your head up your asses. So I find it phenomenal that the Chinese are doing this and that they play the long game like that. I've been studying China since I'm 6. And if all you have to do is read one book and this wasn't going to affect them. And I think they look at us as like, you guys are dumber than a box of rocks, considering we hold 1/3 of all your debt.
Which is interestingly enough, what Musk thinks of Navarro. You remember the year that?
Yep.
That was fantastic. Boys, come on. It's true, but boys, come on.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting.
I will say, we said this last week, and I'll say it again. It is, I do find it's amusing, but it's also quite scary that someone would take on China in terms of their manufacturing ability. It doesn't make sense. There's no ways you can compete in other ways. We've said this before. America's economy is not, it's less than 10%. What is it? It's small.
Yeah, we looked at it. I think it was 16% is what the number we looked at last.
But the most important part of that is that the reason why manufacturing has dwindled over the last 40 years as a percentage of the economy. And you don't have to be an economist to know this. The country has become more advanced. People have become more highfalutin. Services, tech, they've moved up and they go, I'm going to manufacture. Let's send it. Let's outsource it to, those Chinese people. And the Chinese are gone, oh, cool. This is great. And they've seen the opportunity. Good luck to them. They've got billions of people. They've got a workforce that, they're just some of the hardest working people on the planet. Fact. And they, they do what they're told. That's just the fact. They just do what they're told. And they get on with it. You can sit and go, oh, what about the human rights? What?
They don't know how to spell that.
Fine. Yeah, but fine. So what? They that's how they manage their situation. There's jack you can do about it. You cannot compete with that. You cannot compete with the volume that they're able to deliver. And why would you want to? Do what you do. And it's worked great for the US economy. It's worked great for the country. And it's done, as we mentioned last week, the US has outstripped just about, I think, every country. I mean, in the 90s, Japanese GDP per capita and American GDP per capita was similar-ish. Now, Americans are nearly three times the GDP of Japan, for instance. So they've done very well because of, the economy has matured. And he wants to drag you back into the caves and the coal mines and the factories.
The 1930s,
And the crazy thing about that, which I think is extraordinary, is this wasn't the Chinese didn't force anybody to manufacture stuff in their country. They just said, this is what we can do. And the big companies in America went, oh, yeah, great, cool. What will Americans manufacture it for? What are the Chinese going to manufacture it for? Oh, look at that. It's cheaper. That means we can sell our product for less and make more money. Boom. And they outsourced it. And bada boom, bada bing. And that's the world. And now China,
bada boom, bada bing.
whether Donald likes it or not, is certainly in the manufacturing pound seat. And if they didn't sell a thing to the US, they'd be fine. They'd be okay. They don't need the American market. It's inconvenient for them. They'll have to, stretch a muscle here and there and expand a market or two. But it's not going to change them at all.
I'll give you an example. They used to buy American beef. $2.5 billion of American beef is what they used to buy. Chinese. And now they've told the beef farmers, the soybean guys, they said, like, we love you, but your president, we don't like him. So no. So you know what they did? They turned around to Australia, those people in the land down under, where men thunder and women shake and sheep are scared. They're buying $2.5 billion worth of their beef. So I know, I don't think they have 4 cows, so I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see.
I know they're big. The Aussies have got a big. No, sure.
They got a big something. I'll tell you that.
They goes the other way. Hit my sandwich while I send you my beef. Yeah, exactly.
But my point is that China could care less. So I don't think. Once again, I don't think is the motto for this administration. But I don't think they actually thought things through, because China could care less. And the other thing was, there was an economist on Bloomberg, and what he said is very true. And we've discussed this. It takes 3 to 4 to 5 years to build whatever kind of plant or manufacturing you want to do. He said, but unless you have a supply chain that's already here that gives you certain materials, certain natural, whatever you need. He said, it's going to take you another 3 to 5 years to get the supply chain to work over here. They said, in Asia, whether it's Vietnam, the Philippines, China, wherever it might be, as he put it, he said, they've been working on the supply chain since the 80s. So you've got 40 or 50 years of supply chain.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard an economist say, sure, you can bring manufacturing back to the US and let's say it all goes swimmingly, but it's going to take for you to be on the same, for you to satisfy the US market, for instance. Because it is a big market. It is a massive consumer market. It's a fact. And that is great. And that it is what it is. But it's going to, the US manufacturing to keep up with its own market, 40 years. 40 years for them to get anywhere near what China can do right now.
Tomorrow.
So the question then is, why would if I was an investor there, why would I do that? I would literally take my dollars, I would move myself or my business to China and say, well, I've got the plant there. This is what. Tell me if I'm wrong, Stephen. So you're an American entrepreneur and you want to manufacture stuff, and you could give 2 shits about politics. You want to make money right now. You got a 5-10 year plan, and that's what you want to do. My understanding of economics, which is limited, I admit that it's not on a Milton Friedman or Milton Friedman level, but Milton Friedman.
Marx's brother. No one liked him.
Marx's brother. I would honestly take a trip to China, and I would meet some people, and they would be very happy to have my money. And I'm pretty sure they would probably help me find factory, labor, all that, and we just wouldn't ship it back to the States, my own country.
But help you find a
wife. They got those too.
Whatever you need.
And then and then I would be supplying everywhere else in the world,
right?
And I'd be making money, and then
Mhm.
I would come home and people say, "So what are you wearing?" I'd say, "Oh, I don't know, I manufacture shoes, for example."
You
Oh,
probably
what shoes?
wouldn't
What are they
come. You
called?
probably wouldn't.
They called pink saddle, pink sandals,
Right.
whatever. There it is.
Right.
Oh, why don't do you sell them here in the US? No, because what it's going to cost me a fortune. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to. It wouldn't be competitive for me. I can manufacture them in China. I can distribute them throughout the world,
Yeah.
and I make money. And
Yeah.
it'll take me 30 years for me to be able to satisfy that demand locally. So I think to myself, forget the politics. To hell with the politics. We said this before. Money could give two shits. It doesn't have any friends. It just goes where it needs to go. And I mean, you can bring all the emotion you like into it, but that's just the reality. If I've got money and I'm a money man, that's what I'm going to do. If I want to make money, if I want to make a political statement, well, then I will start paying officials in states and buy votes like Elon does. And
And it's
because I've got
apparently not
$300
illegal.
billion
Yeah,
that I'm not
illegal.
making money, I'm losing
Right.
money, right? But I'm trying to grow. I want to, one day when I grow up, I want to be financially like Elon Musk. God help you. Financially, not emotionally,
Right.
financially. I wouldn't do what he's doing now, for instance. So I would go and I would think globally.
You wouldn't have 12 children with 12 different women? All right. Well,
It's 14.
Is it really? 14. Oh my God! Sorry
He's
about
up.
that.
You lost. Oh, you didn't get the memo about the last two.
I
He's up
didn't.
to
I'm
14
sorry.
now.
I think I'm
Yeah,
out.
it's a baker's dozen plus one.
So
It's a
baker's
baker's dozen plus
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm out of that signal group.
He's been very productive. He's
Do
been
that.
very productive.
Wow. All right. But no, to go back to your thing, if I said, I want to, whatever the widget is, and I would go, and I wanted to go to China, I would go if I was going to go to China, like all these other people, and I would you'd meet with the local officials and go as high up as, your money will get you. And I don't mean bribing. I mean, they'll look at how much money you're going to invest.
Yeah.
You're going to be, that gets you to this level.
Is it worth their
as
while?
long as, let's talk to this guy, blah, blah. But if you're going to be a US person and you were going to do that in China, you would probably end up not coming back to the United States. You'd probably either live in China or you'd live in Thailand, Vietnam or something. And then you would just boom, boom, boom. You get your passport. Your passport would be renewed at the embassy. You probably would not come back to, if you will, the homeland. And with what's going on here with the authoritarian rule that we're starting to have, it'll be interesting to see between now and just say whenever the emperor leaves, if we're going to be allowed to start traveling because outside the United States. Go ahead.
Can I just say this, because you made me think of a story about China.
Sure.
And there's all this talk about China and China this and China that. And the weird thing is
that from China last night.
China makes everything. That's what they do. They make everything. Right. And that's fine. I don't know why this fight has been started, but let me tell you what I think is great. It's on my list of countries to visit. Russia was on my list. Probably not going to go there now.
I've been there. It's a very nice place. It's Russia's.
I was going to go. I wanted to go. Not right now. Anyway, especially Eastern Russia, the part that's sort of north of Japan. There's some islands there which interest me because I'm a geography nerd. But China, this is what I think is. Here's a little anecdotal story, and this is something I know to be true. So in this country, let's just cut right to it. In this country, we have a lot of race-based things. I understand why. There was apartheid, and then they brought in this thing called broad-based Black economic empowerment. You had to have so many people of color at various levels of your company. I understand that politically, but we have been a country for 31 years, and that needs to anyway. That's another discussion. But
that's a different show.
That's a different show, and I would be more than happy to chat about it because, race and all that's a fantastic topic, which I've done research on, obviously. But so one of the casualties of this thinking, which by the way is very myopic, is because you really want everybody in your country on board. You don't segregating people is exactly what we didn't want, but that's what's happened. Anyway, you want all your people. Like our rugby team are the champions of the world because all the people are there, not certain colors or because that's bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. Right. So one of the casualties of this type of dispensation was education, and specifically, if I may say, for young white kids, because they wanted to push people of color. As I say, politically, I understand it, but it causes damage, as you can imagine. So a lot of white families obviously then left the country. You've got one there who's now the wealthiest man as a result. He came from here. That's part of the reason why he left. Good luck with that, by the way.
You can have him whenever you want. And he's all yours.
Whatever you want. And we don't want him back. Please, he's not coming back. You made him, you broke him, you keep him. Right. Yeah, so it was difficult. And I can say as a father of a kid who wanted to go and study medicine in this country, I faced that head on. I was told because my daughter looked a certain way.
Because she was white?
Yes, that's right. Okay. Well, whatever shade I am. I've got some Middle Eastern,
like creamy, milky stuff. It's just
wonderful. Yeah. I've got that Mediterranean olive thing going on. I know it doesn't look like that with a bright sun outside, but thank God, because I'm trying to look whiter. Apparently, that's a good look right now. So, so we faced that head on. I was actually told. They said, "Look, it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. You know, she has to be like Einstein." And whatever connections in the business. In the end, they set a lot of barriers for her, and it basically they were saying, "Look, don't bother." Unfortunately, because I was born in the UK, I'm a citizen of the UK. She went and studied what she had to study there. So and she went and did biomedical science, as we've discussed before, and went the whole medical route. But she couldn't have done it here. It was virtually impossible for her to do it here. Anyway. Things are changing, so that now if she studied, it might be different. But I know of someone, kids a little older than mine. So this was about 11, 12, maybe 13 years ago. This kid graduated high school and wanted to study medicine and was faced even more discrimination. So somehow her mother got wind of a Chinese delegation that were coming to South Africa that were looking. They just wanted to they were looking for talent, academic talent. I mean, I'm not going to go to all the details of the story, but they came, they had one of these workshops and they said, look, this is what we can offer you. If you want to study medicine, we would love you to come and study medicine in China. We've got great universities and they do. We've got all the tech you can shake a stick at. They do. The towns are beautiful. They're modern. Everything you could ever want as a student, it's all there. And we will pay for you to fly there. Hell, we will put you up. Your studies won't cost you anything. And you're sitting there going, what is the catch?
Right.
Okay, here we go. So we will select you. We've got to determine whether we'll look at your marks and we will do our own due diligence on you. If we decide that you are someone that we think is worth paying for to study, we will sponsor you. And they came looking for candidates just like this kid, and she was super bright.
Right.
And they actually said to the mom, "We think she's going to be great. We would like to offer you a free ride. Off you go. You come and study. We set her up everything she could need. We'll even set her up with a part-time little job so she can earn some money and buy all the funny things. But all the basics, food, lodging,
everything. Yeah.
Everything. There's nothing for her to worry about. All she's got to do is study."
Right.
There were two caveats. The one, she would have to go, she would have to spend 6 months before she started studying, learning, I think, Mandarin. All right. Not because she would be studying in Mandarin, but it was to help her integrate and just basically get around in society there. So you were put on this crash course. Obviously, they determined that you were bright enough to do it. You would do this crash course in Mandarin, conversational. Hello, my name is, where's this, where's that? How do I fix this? Whatever.
Don't feed me dog. Right, I got it. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. And also learn a bit of the alphabet so you know what the hell's going on. Although a lot of the signs also have English in them as well. But you study in English, so it's fine. China's very smart that way. They're not, yes, Mandarin is the language or whatever the dialect is in the particular area. But yeah, the English, trust me, they all speak it. They're very,
speak it better than we do.
Yes. So you will have, it's just in case you encounter, because you are in China, just encounter, so you don't hit these blocks where no one speaks English and now you bug it. So they're trying to help make your life easier. They think of these things. See, the Chinese play the long game. So there they've got this kid in their country who's bright. They've determined this person is an intellectual capital that they want to have in their country. So I know what you think. You think, they're gonna make it so that she can't leave. Not at all. The contract, the deal, whatever they signed was she studies, she stays, everything is done for her. At the end of her studies, listen to this carefully. She can leave. She can leave.
Wow.
Wait, they will fly her back where she came from. No obligation. But listen to what they did. While she was studying, they obviously got to know her, chatted with her. She decided she wanted to go into pediatrics, and they went, great. They helped her. So she specialized. So she carried on. She finished about 2 years ago. She finished. And when she finished, they said, sure, do you want to go back to South Africa? Just so you know, we can set you up with a practice, full business. Hell, you'll have a whole village. You'll have business coming out of your ears. You'll be doing great work. You'll be paid an immense salary because we need pediatricians. And you are one now. But by all means, you can go back to South Africa. Do you know where she is right now?
China. Yeah. They didn't.
She stayed.
They're smart.
They never said she had to stay.
Yeah.
But they took, I mean, they did take a gamble on her, but this is what China does.
Yeah,
they gamble on people. Yeah, but they can afford it. That's what they do. But that's intelligent. So what they do is they create these generations of academia within their country from other countries. It's brilliant.
I agree.
And so when you're there, you think, oh, it's going to be so foreign and China, and you get there and you go, damn, this is fantastic. Look at the stuff they got. And they also, and she says the people are nice and they are super intelligent, super bright. So it's not like they're, I'm not going to do a whole mock Chinese thing. They are smart people. I mean, look what they've done. All right. They did, as we've said before, they just said, you want to stay out of politics and religion. Just leave that alone.
Yeah.
That's it. Just leave that alone. If you want to worship a piece of wood, fine. But just don't invite anybody else to do it. You can do it in your house, your big fancy house that we will give you. Oh, she's got a big house there, right? We don't want that to spread anywhere. Okay. That's just keep that to yourself. And Xi Jinping is our leader, and don't argue with that. And then you're fine. And you're fine. And you know what? She is happy as whatever. I know she's dating someone, probably someone from China, I would imagine. And away you go. And up goes their gene pool.
Yeah. But you know what China's smart about? There's an article today in Bloomberg that talked about the brain drain, because the brain drain from the United States, as it put, doesn't help anybody. Because if you will, you have Silicon Valley and everything. What China does is they do the reverse of a brain drain. They're basically, they go around the world and they say, we think you're smart. Would you like to come and be, whether it's a medical doctor, a physicist, computer science, they go everywhere and you don't want to study in the United States or South Africa or wherever, and you go and you do. And then they're very smart because they're like, but you don't have to stay. But if you do stay, we're going to give you everything you need. There's a town in Alaska.
What happened.
There's a town in Alaska that was doing that 30 years ago. I don't know if the Chinese got it from them or vice versa, but they needed doctors and whatever. So they would say, we'll pay for your medical school. But the only caveat they had is like, you have to be a doctor here for 4 years because we need you to like take care of the people. And then out of like the 10 or 20 kids that did it, 50% stayed and the other 50 after 4 years left and went back to the lower 48. But China's clever because, if you're you're in your late 20s, early 30s when you get out of medical school, especially if you specialize, and China's like, listen, you don't have to worry about jack shit. We're going to put you in this nice little village. You're going to get a car. You try as a driver and some other stuff. You're going to get a maid. We're going to give you this nice house.
Everything you could possibly want.
And we'll give you a salary. And then your business is going to do well. And we're going to make sure that you don't have a problem. There you go. What are you going to come back to whatever country you're at? And let's see, I got
No,
to pay for this. Dude,
no.
are you kidding? Of course you're going to stay there. That's what I'm saying. If I was going to open a manufacturing plant or a tech company because of what's going on here, and depending on how how high up you get to say hello to whoever in whatever it's China, Vietnam, wherever, and I was going to do that, I would go and I'd be like, yeah, it's the cost of living is less and the people want to work.
But Stephen, here's the thing, because really I wanted to concentrate more today on not moaning, but coming up with a plan. And I'm saying one of the things that I know that the Chinese do is they're very global in their thinking. They look for good ideas. Which is fine. That's great. What's wrong with that? So they want what's best of the country. They are definitely China first, which is fine. But here's what's weird. I've learned through this story. You're not precluded from the country. You need to follow their rules, which is true of any country.
Yeah.
If you add value to the country, they welcome you. That's no different from the US. None. Zero. So they're just pretty clear. Don't mess with religion. Don't mess with politics.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, most countries around the world, why would you? I mean, what are you going to do? Okay.
Yeah.
But they're pretty clear about it. And they people say, oh, they've got a human rights record and human rights. Okay.
So do we.
I can tell you right now, my learned experience, what I know about this kid, when she went, she was a little wary because ooh, China, communist China, and she had this idea, what they presented to. In fact, I should say this: before she went there full time, they said, "Tell you what, we're going to fly you over.
Right.
We'll show you the place. This is no cost to you, no obligation. You come over, you have a look at where you're going to study. You can meet some of the lecturers and people and see what we can offer you. See the village, have a look. Because, we can't show you. Are you up for that? We don't want no cost to you. And we will actually give you some sort of what do you call it? A subsistence while, so you'll have some money. You don't have to worry about money because, And she said, all right, cool. And she went. She was supposed to go, I think, for about 2 weeks. She stayed for 2 months.
Wow.
And eventually just said, well, I'm here. I'll just stay. And then she stayed. She never came back, is what I'm saying. So 2 weeks became 2 months. And she had a ticket to come back and then obviously chat and plan. And she said to her, Mom, well, look, I'm here. I mean,
might as well start.
I'm happy. I've gotten to know some people. They're so nice. They've got some amazing stuff. The courses are great, blah, 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 blah. And all these things that I thought about the country, none of that's true. None of that's true. And she's not a really political animal. So that was great. She was like about the work, about the course, about the subject. And she's fine. And I think she's fairly fluent now. I don't know. I haven't seen these people in about a couple of years. But or spoken to them 2 years, in fact, when she finished or whenever it was. But the point is, she's very happy now. I'm saying this is you can say what you like about media and all the horror stories,
right?
But that's what they're doing, and that's clever. It's not something to be. I've never thought it's something to be feared. You can say that there's some authoritarian things in their government. But I mean, Stephen, as you rightly pointed out, and as many people have pointed out, I mean, with all due respect, whatever your political position is, what's going on in the White House right now?
Yeah.
I mean, as we said before, I don't agree with what that one guy said. The whole Palestine-Israel thing. If he was my son, I would say, listen, just study. Stay out of that crap.
I agree.
But he is fully entitled to express that opinion. He didn't hurt anybody, not that I know of. He didn't injure anybody. What exactly did he do apart from say something that people didn't like?
Right.
That's what I want to know. Did he say, I don't agree with him? I don't. I think I personally, on a personal level, I think he's a wacko. But that's not the point. If you start deporting people or shutting things down that you don't because you just don't like it, well, that's authoritarian. That's what it is.
Right. We're in that state.
And as I say, there are a lot of, I mean, there were some protests, across Harvard, for instance, that were bad. There were some Jewish students that were suffering, that felt threatened. Absolutely. But to then turn around and tell the entire University of Harvard, for instance, that they anti-Semitic and I just go, no, man, have a proper adult conversation. Go
that's
there.
fine. That's fine. Harvard's already told the president to go screw himself.
Take some fried chicken, sit down with the dean or the chancellor, whatever, of Harvard, and have a chat about it. Don't say, oh, I don't agree with you, you're going to cut your funding. Because that's what kids do. Come on, grow the fuck up. If you don't agree with someone...
This administration isn't going to grow the fuck up. That's number one. Number two, Harvard's already said they're going to take Trump on head on. And now Trump says they're going to remove Harvard's. And now Harvard's going to get accident status removed.
I just want to say this because I'm always quite keen to stay objective.
Right.
I'm not having a go. I'm not having a go at Trump. I'm not having a go at Harvard. I'm not saying that he isn't entitled to feel unhappy about the protest. Right. Absolutely. They were not good, and there are a lot of things that are problematic. Were there trade imbalances? Maybe, maybe not. But as the one guy pointed out, the economist, he said, he's quite a wealthy guy. He says, I've got a massive trade imbalance with my barber.
Right.
He doesn't buy anything from me. So what I'm saying is there hasn't been a lot of thought that's gone into the reaction to some serious problems. There are a lot of people hurting, and there are a lot of people that are affected. But it goes back to the whole thing with Brexit. I'm going to just shoot across the pond. The Brexit thing in the UK was interesting because there are a lot of big problems in the UK. Definitely. Big issues. Let's just say you go with the sunset issues like immigration and healthcare and all these things, right? That were affecting folks in the UK. Definite problem. But they knocked on the wrong door. The door to knock on was 10 Downing, not Brussels. This had nothing to do with the EU. It was an internal problem that they needed to fix. So they thought, well, if we split from the EU, then nirvana will be achieved. Everybody, we will be free of all those silly trade deals. Does it sound familiar? We'll be free of all those, and then we can go and sign our own deals because we've grown up now. We're not a child of Europe, and we go and do what the hell we want, and we're so powerful. And then, of course, they left the club, and they discovered, as big as the UK economy is, it's dwarfed in comparison to the EU. The EU is massive. So if you stay within the EU, you've got more power. I'm not going to get into the whole Brexit debate, but what I'm saying, it's about misinformation. There are definitely problems in EU and in the US. Definitely, people are things that are wrong, but there's much better ways to handle it. And if you look at the way the Chinese have evolved their society, you can say there are things that are wrong, sure, but they have done great things, and they seem to have figured out how to harness talent, get the brain drain going the other way, and they just think long term. And
that's the nice thing.
Why would you pick a fight with someone like that? I mean, I could repeat myself from last week. I still don't know what the Canadian problem is. It just
we told you we didn't get enough maple syrup. We told you that.
Oh no! You said that Donald dated a Canadian girl and she didn't give him
enough maple syrup from her.
She didn't give him enough maple syrup. That's right.
That's why. But no, I mean the Chinese. Listen, like I said, I've been reading about China since I'm 6. So that's right before Mao and Nixon, had their love meeting in 72. So I've always been fascinated by it. All the stories, all the legends, everything.
Right.
And I've been so when you just look at the history and the people and realize that back in from like the 1000 CE to like 1412 CE, they sailed the world. They sailed the world. Like, if you want to see who discovered America, technically it wouldn't be Columbus; it would be the Chinese.
Probably, and they went, "No, we don't want that."
I don't blame them. Right? But there's a guy named Zhao, and in 1412 or 1406, I forget, he's the one who said, "No, we're done exploring the world," and he is the emperor that closed off China. And if he didn't close off China in the 1400s, God knows where we would be. I mean, not good, bad, or indifferent, just the way it was. So the whole thing about China, and people look at China has been ahead of the world since the day China came out of, if you will, the womb. They're the ones who started paper money. They're the ones who came up with your math. They're the ones but you keep going through everything. They're it. I mean, granted, they were writing.
Do you know that?
Sunglasses, right. But I'm just saying,
you know what? You know why?
Stuff. Tell me.
So you know why we have sunglasses? You know what? The Chinese invented sunglasses, but you know what they invented it for?
Because they don't like squinting? No, go ahead.
No. It was designed for judges so that people couldn't see their eyes. They didn't want people to see. They didn't want people to see their eyes, and it gave them. I mean, you put your sunglasses on. It gives you a very. You can see. They didn't want you. You're not going to see what I think, so I block you off and I talk to you. So it gave them this reverence and this, the stoic authority which they wanted. So that's from the Chinese. They invented sunglasses for that reason.
And Jack Nicholson took it to a whole nother level. So good for him.
Exactly. But think about it. That makes sense, though. If you're talking to someone with sunglasses on, you can't see their emotions. You can't see what they're thinking. You don't know.
Onassis used to wear sunglasses all the time when he would be in meetings, and so did Enzo Ferrari.
Yeah, probably for that reason. Probably for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is the Chinese were on that page all that time ago. Yeah.
But see, here's what this goes into like ancient alien stuff. Because China seems to be so far advanced. It seems to me that, like the pyramids, there's pyramids all over the world, and there's all this, and they talk about, I have a feeling a lot of stuff started in China, and it just kind of went through all wherever, because it seems that when you needed something to change, like, we can come up with gunpowder. Don't worry, we can come up with like the written word. Don't worry, we can come up with this. It sort of seems like it just sort of came out of China. And the legend of China, which I like, because I like to read their legends, because there's some truth in it. They said that the first emperor of China came in on a flying dragon. So I thought that was fascinating. And 20 years after he's there and he's given them everything, he left on a flying dragon. So I always I thought that was fascinating, because I'm like, okay, so does this mean alien, UFO? So, I mean, it's just fascinating when you read their mythologies and whatever. And then if you look, which a friend of mine brought up, since we're on China right now, you look at the Chinese calendar, look at all the animals on the calendar, right? They're all real, except technically one, which is the dragon. So the hypothesis is maybe there were dragons. So I thought, and he said, so I thought, interesting. So China is a land of mystery, and that's why I've been fascinated for the last 7,000 years, so to speak. I find it when I go, I've been fascinated when I'm there. The people, their 1,000-year ideas. There's a book a military guy wrote. It's called China 2050. And if you read that, they're doing everything that's in that book. It's kind of like the 2025 project for, Trump to be an authoritarian. But the Chinese are just doing it, and it's all long term. I mean, they look at it like, okay, so in the year 3500, what are we going to do? And they work backwards. In America, we look at it, it's Monday. What are we doing at noon? So there's a big difference in that. And so like when I run companies, I do the same thing. I'm like, what's our 5 or 10-year plan? Because you can't ask them to go further. And you work backwards, say from 5 years to tomorrow. So you know what you need to do. And that's what the Chinese do, the Japanese. And that's what they're all doing. So as America becomes whatever we're going to become, and all these countries pass us, it's not how I put it. It's our own fault because we don't think anymore. Nobody, what I'm saying? Jamie Dimon now is science, all of a sudden, like, oh my God, this is terrible. But hey, Jamie, where were you in 2008? So I mean, like, where were you then? Oh, now it's affecting maybe your $50 million a year salary. Now you're worried. So the problem is now that they see that their shelf life is decreasing. They see that their power structure is decreasing. All of a sudden, now they're all sounding alarms. You should have been sounding alarms for the last 30 years about America just basically, and I mean this with no disrespect to my own country, sucking cock. We fucked up ourselves. We have no one to blame but ourselves. To your point, we didn't push China. We didn't push Vietnam. We didn't push all the Philippines to be the call center people. We did nothing. It was the CEOs, stakeholders, and shareholders in this country that said, we need more. And no one said, hey, that's great. But in 50 years, how does that look? Don't care. We need more. So the problems we have today, including who's in the White House or the Orange House or the Golden Glebe House, because he's putting everything gold like Mar-a-Lago. That is a problem that we caused, and nobody else caused it. So all this ridiculous crap that they're doing without thought, I agree with some of it, but you have to have thought behind it. That's a problem. And we did it.
I just have to say, and I'm going to say this because I'm going to preempt it by saying, as you know, Stephen, I'm a big fan of the concept of the US, what it's about.
Me too.
and it's a brilliant idea, which for the longest time was going pretty well. I think it was being executed really well by some super smart people, because they were collecting some great people from around the world. Think of all the people after the Second World War that descended upon America. I mean, the space program, where did all those people come from?
Nazis. Exactly. You got to love the Nazis for that.
You can say what you like about the Nazis. They weren't dumb. So, they went, oh, we'll have a piece of that. Let's give them a citizenship, and they can help us build some rockets and whatever. But what I'm saying is they had this global mindset, which catapulted the country into this economic abundance. And it's quite disappointing to see the country retreating into a tiny little ball again, which is first of all, it's so unnecessary. And I want to say this though, if I read another comment, there's nothing I can do about this, but if I read another comment from someone saying, "Oh, we saved your ass in the Second World War, and if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking German," I go, okay, I'm going to just count to 10, deep breath, and I'm going to say, watch The World at War, British documentary made in the early 70s, and narrated by Sir Laurence Olivier, which will give you, because I know you're not going to read a damn book, watch the damn thing and just educate yourself on what America is and what it isn't. Yes, it was a team player, but it wasn't the game changer that you think it is or was. That doesn't mean the contribution wasn't important, but everybody, all nations, all the allies, all of them, including America, but including everybody else that fought against the Nazis, are the reason we are not speaking German. It is not one country. That's not the way. That's not that. Literally, the word ally doesn't mean that. So I get disappointed by that, because I've always thought, bring me your tired, bring me your poor. That's why the Statue of Liberty stands where it does. That's why it's there. The whole meaning of the Statue of Liberty is gone. It's like, just fuck off out of our country and go away. And you've got a guy now, I don't blame him for thinking the way he does. I blame the people who somehow have no idea what he's about and what America really could be. I hear this crap, people saying, "I make America great again." It is great. For the love of God, can you appreciate it and stop chasing everybody away? Why are you fighting with so many people? I'm not going to get into the economics and the specifics, but has been said by all the smart people, not the emotional politicians, the smart people. They will tell you America's been doing just great. And it's been expanding faster than anybody else. Go and look at the metrics. Go and look at the economic metrics, and you will see it. It's outstripped every other country on the world. So I don't know why the Europeans is going, what are they having a tantrum about? We've always been their friend. We're always here. Why are they suddenly turning on us? And why are we being blamed for all their internal bullshit?
Russian
This is their problem. This is their problem. And I just wish the problem was concentrated internally. In other words, if there's a problem, fix it internally. But why would you lash out at people around the world? I mean, Trump's talking about the special relationship being over. Now, that is very disappointing, because that is a very important special relationship. It's not a bromance. There's history there. There's absolute history there. And why would you just dismiss it? And then what? And I just wish they wouldn't. I just wish he wouldn't do it. Why the fight? What's the fight about? He's in Canada, for God's sake. Who doesn't like Canada? I mean, what? I mean,
even the North Koreans like Canada.
It's like you're in class, and there's this really nice kid that brings apples and shit to everyone and says, "Hey, everybody, come and stay at my place." And he's that guy. He's not rude. He's not aggressive. He's just a big lump of happiness and generosity. And then you come in the one day and go, "He's a piece of shit." What Why does he keep bringing in apples? Who does he think he is? You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be shitting me. And it's it's the US's closest, well, they probably are geographically and everything, closest ally, biggest trading partner, good buddy, sells stuff at a cost to Canada. Thanks very much. And they'll just sell it to China, make a lot more money. Why not?
Yeah, the problem.
Chinese will be happy to have it.
Listen,
Why not?
Bernie Sanders did a speech 27 years ago, and Bernie Sanders' speech was about how the Republicans are going to screw up America. And in his speech, he talks about you create hatred between whites and blacks, haves and have-nots. Everything that Trump is doing, Bernie talked about 27 years ago. Someone sent me the speech. It was fascinating. So the problem that we have in our country is that he appealed to a certain group of people. You're like I lost because it was rigged. It wasn't rigged. And then there's whatever politicians said, now they're investigating them. So if he just say there's an election in 2028, which I doubt there's going to be, but if there is and he loses, he's going to go, it's rigged. It was so yeah, there's not. I think this is it. I think America now is going to go into an authoritarian monarchy.
God, I hope you're wrong. I
don't think so, because I don't see anybody doing it. The Democrats are pussies. There's no Democrats trying to say or do anything.
And he's going like this to the Supreme Court, which is interesting.
Basically, said, fuck you to the Supreme Court. So as Jon Stewart said in the Daily Show the other day, we're already at an authoritarian state at a very quick stage. He's no different now than whether it's North Korea, Russia, China, and we're there. But at least if I decide tomorrow I'm going to move to China, I know what I'm getting. Yeah. Here, I thought we had freedom, and we still have freedom of speech. But I keep saying for how long? Because at some point, you can't say the emperor's new clothes are terrible, and he's going to be like, there could be no more free speech. And what's shocking to me is that nobody says or does anything. Now, maybe they are in quiet little circles. We had a guy on from a defense magazine a couple of weeks ago on Lost Dollar Business Club, and he says privately, Republicans and Democrats are like not happy. They're like, this is terrible. We need to do something. But like he said, I can't tell you what they're telling me that they want to do. I'm like, that's fine. So, but they know that Trump needs to go. So like in 2028, he needs to go. J.D. Vance is the one who called Trump Hitler. And now all of a sudden he's Goebbels or, Herring, or whatever you want to look at. Musk is no. So you look at his little circle there. It's very bad for America because now there's no adults in the room. Even the press conferences, there was a reporter from CNN that asked a real question. And Trump's like, why do you ask me questions like this? And then some other reporter turns around and says, Mr. Trump, the stock market's doing good. Thank you. And he goes, see, that's the kind of question I like. Well, first of all, that's not a question. That's a statement. Yeah, that's not a question. That's a statement. So if we're really just going to be North Korea now, and when the great leader says something, we all just chuckle, then that's fine. So he, Mr. Trump, and his cabinet, and I've said this before, if we really do get democracy back, are they going to be held accountable? Like, the Supreme Court going to say, okay, like you broke all these laws. What are they going to do? And the other problem I have is when Russia does roll through the Ukraine over to Poland, and we do have another world war, because we're acting like 1930 isolationism again, is it going to be like, hello, U.S., can you help us? Are we not? Or is the new president that after Trump's going to be like, hey, we need to, this is all of a sudden 100 years repeating itself again. So there's all these moving parts and nobody seems to have an answer. And so even when you think through it, it's kind of like, to your point, even if you have money, if he doesn't like you, you can go to jail, right? Oh, I like what Putin does to his opponents is like, they either die or they go to jail. And it doesn't matter that they're billionaires. So I think you start seeing, I know a lot of guys and girls with money now are starting to set up other residents and leaving the United States because to them, it's a safer bet to not maybe have everything here because of the uncertainty. And there's other countries that they feel more comfortable in, which is, once again, it goes back to a brain drain, economic drain, and whatnot. It is. So I think
very sad. I hope things don't go that route, but I will say the blatant what's the word? Ignoring
is the word, sure.
Of the Supreme of orders, not suggestions. These are orders. Well, you just ignore the Supreme Court now. I mean, what happened to the three branches of government? One of them is judicial.
Right.
I mean,
but there isn't
it's
anymore.
there. And you may not agree with it or like it, but the law isn't about making you feel, what's the word, validated. It's the law.
Right.
That's what it
Right.
is. You have incorrectly, you've done something wrong, and the law says you must fix
Right.
it or pay a price or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's looking quite cultish. I will give you that. What I did find interesting is how his minions
Right.
say the same thing in so many different media situations. They spout exactly the same words,
Right.
and that is worrying.
And
There's no different. There's no
there is.
different.
They,
There's
they,
the
they
same.
what you would
They're
call
saying the same thing, different
but
people in the
but
same
they're
way.
wrong.
It's like
Have
they're
you
grown in a lab.
Wait, did you see the one on the tariffs? This was the best one. The girl goes, the tariffs are hard. The tariffs are not for negotiations, yada, yada, yada. And then Trump, 3 hours later, on Air Force One goes, well, of course, the tariffs are for negotiation. I'm thinking to myself, did you guys not read the memo? So
Yeah,
it's comical. And the people I speak to outside the United States that we do business with
right.
are all like, you guys are a joke now. And I'm like, no shit. Why do you think everybody's moving their dollars into other
It didn't
currencies? And
have
why do
to
you think
be.
people are doing this? And why do you think people are
Oh,
doing following?
I will say,
Yeah.
I sometimes take some of the economic data that I read with a pinch of salt, but I will say I do have some pounds in the UK. So I've tracked the, for instance, the UK US exchange rate, because I get,
Yeah.
whatever. And I've noticed that the pound has become quite a bit stronger against the dollar, which is
Yeah.
weird.
We're going to drop like a
That's
ton of bricks.
but it's been very consistent. It's been
Yeah.
very consistent, sitting at about 126, 127 pound to the dollar. And the
Yeah.
last I looked at, it wasn't a big jump, but it was noticeable. It was 132, and I went, "What?
We're going to drop
That's
like a
odd.
box of rocks. The
That was
greenback's going
odd.
to drop. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're going to drop, and that's why a lot of people are putting their money, whether it's in euros, pounds, RMB,
When are your midterms?
AED,
When are the midterms? When are the midterms?
next year.
Yeah, well, we've got elections coming up here next year, and I will leave this for next time. But we have a very interesting political reality that's emerging here. But we'll talk about that next time. But I'll leave you with this in a nutshell. It's not part of the chat, but we have a ruling party and we have the opposition party, and at the last elections, it's just data. It's not polling. It's not a reality yet. But the trend, as the one guy said, it's the trend that's interesting. So the major party is the ANC, and I think they got about 40%, somewhere around there, in the last election. And I think the DA, which is the opposition party, I think they got, I'm going to say 22, 23%, somewhere around there. The latest polling that I saw puts the ANC at 29.7 and the DA at 30.2.
Wow,
which is interesting.
Neck and neck. Yeah.
Neck and neck. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the trends are quite interesting. But anyway, we'll talk about that next time. It's quite.
And also next time we need to talk about the new ambassador from South Africa to the United States who thinks Trump's a racist, and he has a whole bunch of things. There's an article in the FT. I don't know who this guy is. Just a little bit I read. I already like him. He should be on the show. And he could be the worst person in the world, but he's very blunt about Donald Trump. And I'm like, okay, this will be interesting. So is the guy before him.
So was JD until he became VP. Now he's sucking the teat.
Ooh,
I'm just saying. He had strong opinions until he got that job.
And so did Marco Rubio, and so did the rest of them. It's just the way. Listen, Donnie, if you want us to change the opinion, I've told you I need to be the czar of cigars so Cuban cigars can come to America, and you'll be the best president ever. Just saying. That's how it works. Yeah,
pick a show. Come and join one of the shows. Yeah. Absolutely.
If he ever showed up, it would be funny. We said this on Lost Dollar once. If he ever really said, I'm going to come on your show, I'd say, like, which show do you want to come on? Like, we've got a different bunch of hosts with a different bunch of personalities.
But you know what we'll do, though? And let me just say this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he'll do this, but let's just say, he does a Rogan and he decides to come on the show. Let's just say
this show.
Whatever, one of these shows. It doesn't matter which one it is in the family of shows. So he picks one. Then you get all the people from all the shows, and we all join that show. That's what.
And have questions. Yeah, but you know what?
We just have a conversation. We just have a conversation.
Well, Bill
without
Maher,
all the bullshit, and we just say, seriously, what are you thinking? What was your thinking with this? Go.
Yeah.
And
Bill Maher said that when he had lunch or dinner with him.
I know. We'll talk about that. Yeah, I know.
That was. He said that he was delightful, and I was like, okay. And so everyone says he's delightful. So I want, if you will, if Donnie, I know you watch because you send us emails all the time. But if Donnie comes on the show, I want Donnie to be the delightful Donnie, not the Donnie that we see on Air Force One in press conferences to say that's not a good question. But we'll ask we'll have a real dialogue.
Stephen,
and everybody would be respectful. Yeah.
Stephen, before I go, I know we're out of time, but I will say this. Yeah. I will say when I saw that thing that Bill Maher posted about him being at Donnie's house and he was all nice, instead of that making me feel better, that actually I went, wow. So he's playing the entire world. Really, maybe he isn't that what people think he is. That to me, in a way, is worse. That is worse in a way. If you are just an ass, he's just an ass.
All right.
But he's not. If he's a nice guy playing one, what are you doing that for?
A reporter from the Washington Post last week was on Bill Maher's show, and he actually discuss that. It's a fascinating discussion. So, but we don't have time for that, kids. Thank you for watching and listening. We will be back next Wednesday with Rob Vega on Vaguely True or Vaguely News, depending on which one you like. Donnie, you can come on whenever you time. JD, anytime. We always invite you, but JD, we do have a couch for you. And anybody else in the Trump administration can come. And we'll promise we'll be nice and not do all these little jokes.
Move that couch. Move that couch.
Elon, I don't know if you can come on any shows. I don't think anybody likes you enough. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe and like. You can catch
Stephen, we love him. Come on.
We love him. All right. We want Elon to come on then.
Never mind. Love Elon. Come on.
Rizza from Habano Saturday will, at any time we told him that any of these people are on, he will be on that show because he's got thousands of questions. And if you've ever heard Rizza, he's very methodical and he's like you guys. I would just sit there and look pretty and let you guys have at it. I think it would be a blast. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can get us wherever you get your podcasts, or you can catch us here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and like. We'll see everybody next Wednesday or Friday on the rebroadcast. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to this Old Woods Rob Vega, whatever the hell he wants to call himself, fellow. This podcast thing, it makes him feel very important, and he's a difficult fellow as it is to deal with. So thank you so much for putting up with him, and do take care.